Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Thank you Aries for being so patient. I'm going with the flow at the moment with the readings. The messages are coming through really big and having to stick to a schedule makes it kind of overwhelming. So this kind of is part of the message that's coming through in your cards to not be so fixated on things, not to be in that kind of almost Taurian stubborn energy. I feel like you and Taurus kind of sharing the Emperor card have that kind of this is the destination, this is the goal, and we're sticking to it energy. And I feel like the universe may be intervening a little bit. The universe may be kind of making things a little bit hard for you. It could feel that way, but everything has a purpose and everything's going to be fine. This reading is very, very, very reassuring. So if you've been stressed, if you've been frustrated, nothing is wasted. Everything has a purpose is the message that's coming through. The card Nothing is Wasted came through when I originally pulled cards for you. I've redone the cards because I'm really waiting until the message is clear so that I can communicate the messages clearly. If the message is coming through in a confused way, I'm just leaving it and just giving the cards another chance to speak. So I understand now why the message Nothing is Wasted came through in your first reading. So yeah, we're being asked to be in flow, not worry too much about time, about schedules, about when something should be done, but to really listen to our bodies, listen to what we need. If we need to rest, we need to rest. You know, it's going to make things more effective if we're in our full energy and our full health, rather than trying to do something when we're running on empty. So the analogy that they give for this, give me for this visually, is sometimes I get tree analogy, which talks to me depending on the tree. Normally it's an oak tree or something really solid looking, which tells me about firm foundations, standing your ground, planting your roots firmly. A couple of days ago, this changed to more of a willow tree, and of course willows bend and are flexible, and they can put roots down kind of next to rivers and things like this, which is kind of shifting land, right? So already I was getting this flexibility and shifting analogy, and it's turned now to the analogy, some of you may remember this coming through, of trying to put your roots down on a beach at the edge of the tide. So if you've ever put your feet down in sand and the waves have come in, the waves will pull the sand out from underneath your feet, and very soon you'll be sinking or sliding. So it's very, very hard to plant your roots down in shifting waters. So you do have this herald of change. Don't panic. It's called Horseman. It's not scary. Again, this is a very, very reassuring reading. So I will explain that when we get to it. But there's this energy of things are shifting. So the world itself is shifting at the moment. We're in this flux cycle with this Aquarian energy where, you know, some of the rules, some of the things that we've took for granted as solid and stable are now in question, or now are having to be revised because they're no longer fit for purpose. So there's a lot of things going on with the government, politics, laws, just the way society's run, where, you know, there is this shifting energy. It's for the greater good. It's for a purpose. We've learnt lessons along the way, and it's okay to revise things and figure out different ways of existing as human beings on this planet. This is very much the energy of the King of Air, this kind of starman energy. You know, they're here to guide us. If you want to see this as aliens, I'm not saying it's the aliens, but maybe it's the aliens. If you want to see it as just Aquarian energy being this higher perspective and understanding how we can make beneficial changes for the good of humanity, you know, however you want to see it. If you want to see this as the Father, then you can do, right? But it's understanding that everything we experience is a lesson, is part of our story, and we can go back as if reading our existence as an individual on this planet and collectively as human beings looking at our own history. We can look back through our book and we can see patterns and we can see cycles, and we can see where, you know, improvements can be made, or we can even look and say, oh, I recognize this pattern we're in, I recognize this cycle, we've been here before. If we do the same thing that we did last time, it's going to create probably create this outcome. Let's try something else. Okay, so it's this very interesting phase that I feel we're in collectively. And I think Aries and maybe Taurus as well, because we have this rhino spirit here. You know, Taurus is the bull, rhinos are bulls, you know. So we have this kind of, you can be very goal orientated. You can be, especially if you're on the cusp Aries, if you're close to Taurus, you know, if you you know, on the cusp of those two signs, or if you've just got a lot of Taurus in your chart, you know, you can be very fixated on your goals. You can be very fixated on getting things done at the right time and schedules. Not that to say any of you are boring, you know, my Aries and Taurus friends tend to be party animals as well, and that's kind of the message. So one of the cards that came out, not in this spread, but in the previous spread, was a couple of cards saying, make sure you've got your work-life balance, you know, make sure you're making time to play and then go out and have fun. Don't be too fixated on deadlines, schedules, goals. You know, I should have done this by this age, you know, by 30 I said that I was going to be the CEO of the business, whatever it is. Like, let it go, let it flow, because you're going to find the world shifting, and as the world shifts, you're going to be reassessing your goals, I think, in a good way, in a positive way, where you think, why was I chasing this in the first place? Okay, so that's what's coming through in the cards, and I will come back to the cards, but I'm just going to run through the intuitive messages. So some of this could mean something to you, it could not. Some of it is very, very, very exciting. So for some of you, I've got this feeling of either you or somebody around you is planning the trip of a lifetime. It's like it's coming through with a specific destination, and it's coming through as if you're looking at, you know, if I go to this place, what are all the different things I could do? So I'm going to run through it, and you're going to see certain things and a specific destination coming up time and time again. But I'm going to just start, and it's not going to be for everybody, right? I'm not saying you're all going to go to this place. It's not like every Aries on the planet is suddenly going to go to this one place on Earth, but it's like, it could be symbolic for you. It could be that you're watching something on TV that's kind of set in this place. It could be that this is somewhere that you want to go. So I do take it as it resonates and leave it if it doesn't. Some of you may already live there. Okay, so the first thing that came through was head coverings, veils, hats, tinfoil, and hair and Buddha shaving the head. So what is on your head basically was coming through. And it was talking to me about being able to receive the messages. So I'm not going to call out any specific religion, but you can play around with this idea yourself. It's like any specific period of history. So for example, you know, it used to be customary in England for people to wear hats as a kind of, you know, as a basic formality that you would wear. You know, you would have your head covered. And so if you can think of certain cultures or religions where people have their head covered, it was coming through this energy of, now whether this is true or not, this is what the message I was given. It's like it stops the direct line with the energy above from coming through. So when I meditate, I really feel on this right side of my head, kind of almost like my skull's opening up, and it's like then I start to receive all these downloads. So for me, and like it's specifically the right side of my head usually, and I wear my hair on one side, so I've got kind of, it's almost like the right side of my head is more revealed than the left side of my head. So I don't know, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like, you know how people talk about if I wear a tinfoil hat, then, you know, they can't read my brainwaves. So it's like something about brainwaves and accessibility and head coverings. Now you may wear a head covering, you may just want to spend some time thinking about, am I being asked to cover my head? And this could just be with hair, right? Am I being asked to, I don't know, make my head more accessible? Why would that be? Who would benefit from that? It's a strange message, but it's there. And also something about the metals used in the manufacture of fabrics. Now, I saw on Twitter the other day, there's a very cheap clothing website that people have been buying a lot of clothes from, and they're in trouble because some of the places where they get the clothes from don't have the same regulations that we do, and they use too much metal in the production of the clothes, which can actually affect our health, which is a scary thought. But running with that, if you think about the Mad Hatter, right, in Alice in Wonderland, and how the process that they used to make hats in that time, I think it had like mercury or some kind of metal in that would make people a little bit mad. So just this concept of like metal head, you know, messages coming in and out is coming through for you for some reason. Willow, birch, flexible trees, there you go. Willowy figure, dancer, ballerina, swan lake, birds. So I was stretching as I was kind of like preparing to meditate, and I had my hands over my head, and I was like, this is a specific pose that I've seen somewhere, and I thought it's ballet, and it's when I think it's specifically Swan Lake, you know, when they're trying to pretend to be birds, they kind of put the hands up over their head and kind of lean back, and then they kind of like run with like a little wiggly bum kind of thing, like a bird. It's funny because I've been feeding the geese as well in the park, like earlier yesterday morning when I kind of originally started to get your messages, and I was thinking to myself about how on old postcards, like Christmas cards, people would be holding a geese, because like anything that comes through in the reading is part of the reading, so either just ignore this bit if it's not meaning anything to you, or run with it if it is. But it's like I was the geese seem to be getting really familiar with me now. The first time that I posted that I was feeding the geese on Twitter, my friends were like, oh my God, they're scary, they're evil, they've got teeth on their tongues, like, what are you doing? And I was like, no, they're friendly, they're fine. And like, the more I've gone back and fed them, the more friendly they're getting with me, and they will come and eat out of my hand. And it's like, they do pinch, right? They do sometimes accidentally kind of grab my skin, but it's just a pinch. It's just like doing that. They don't hurt me. And they're getting very, very friendly. And I think they're getting to recognize me now as well. So you know, they used to not want me to touch them, but now I sit there and I like, you know, they'll be eating out of my hand and I can just sit there stroking them. So, and my daughter was talking about picking up ducks, like how to pick up a duck. So maybe somebody picking up birds, I don't know, maybe this is like flirting, but then I was like seeing the image of like on old Christmas cards where people go out caroling and they'd be holding a goose. Like you'd have like a child holding a goose. So I don't know why that's coming through, but it could be something for somebody. There is stuff coming through about winter time. So I don't know if you're planning something for winter, maybe you get together with family, maybe going seeing some shows, because like I say, I was getting ballerinas, which was giving me Swan Lake. And then I started to get Nutcracker. So specifically, as I was kind of picturing the ballet, I was getting that so I had to Google it because I wasn't sure what it was from, but it is the Nutcracker, and it's the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. So again, this very girly ballerina. Both of these ballets are by Tchaikovsky. So that could be symbolic. Maybe somebody really likes Tchaikovsky. Maybe somebody is a ballerina. But yeah, that was kind of coming through Swan Lake and the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. Now, there could be something, if you go and look up the plot of these two plays, there could be something in that for you. But it was also making me think of like really traditional children's tales, especially like, you know, Brothers Grimm and that kind of thing, kind of German and Russian kind of storytelling, and old-fashioned fairy tales as well. So not the Disney version so much, although it's really strange. I found finally, I didn't know where I put it. Every time I used to go into town, I used to get my daughter one of these little charms from the Disney shop. So now I've got all these different Disney princesses. So it's so funny that I found that. And then you're getting this thing about like fairy tales, right? The names Clara and Odette could mean something to somebody. Germany and Russia could be significant for somebody. But generally it's like, as well, I've been seeing stuff about like pantomimes. Like in the UK we have pantomimes, so it's like going seeing a show perhaps in the winter period. And then I got Broadway from New York. So I keep getting New York. This is the place that keeps coming through. So Broadway, somebody could be going to Broadway, somebody could be performing on Broadway. It could be something specific. Then I was getting Figaro. So the Marriage of Figaro, which again is another play, it's another performance that you go and see on stage. It was coming through with the not the TV show, the movie Oscar with Sylvester Stallone, and his wife, specifically his wife, who's called Sophia. Again, it could be a name for somebody, shouting him. She's like, Angelo. So I was really getting that. So I don't know. which was really interesting because previously I'd already got a separate message. Just the words came through. Sometimes I can just hear words that like, it's like, hey, here's a download. I'm going to tell you something directly into your brain. But I heard Little Italy, and then I heard Brooklyn. Now, I didn't know where Little Italy was, right? There's Little Italies everywhere. And maybe it was in my subconscious, but if you ask me, where's Little Italy? I'd be like, I don't know, maybe New York. But they gave me specifically Brooklyn. I Googled it. Little Italy is in Brooklyn. So nice little confirmation there from my guides. I've been watching House of Gucci, which is set in New York. Somebody on Twitter yesterday mentioned The Devil Wears Prada, which is set in New York. Both of them have this fashion aspect. So Italy, fashion, Italians, Italian names, Russia, ballet, Broadway, all this kind of very New York creative scene is coming through. Then I got New York Fashion Week, which is set in September in New York. Then I was getting, you had like autumn, winter, spring in your last reading, which I looked at, and it gave me another play, which was Grease 2, and the song, I'll be your girl for all seasons, all the year through, a girl for all seasons. So again, of course, this is literally them doing a performance. Greece, the country Greece could be significant for somebody. Then I got Michelangelo, which again came from the film Oscar, and Angelo gave me Michelangelo, which of course he was a very famous sculptor. I'd already in meditation got this thing about statues. I keep seeing statue references. So talking about being on the beach with the waves, so I start out my meditation where I visualize being in a certain place. So I was on this beach, and then I let the images flow to me. So it was like I was going like this with my hands, and there was all this gold dust floating around in the air, and it was coating me. So it's like I was being turned into gold because of this gold stuff that was in the atmosphere. And it's kind of all he gave me in that meditation, but it made me think of the story of King Midas, where everything he touched turned to gold. So maybe, I don't know, you may have the golden touch in whatever career you do, where, you know, whatever you get involved in turns out really well. So again, it could be though that you're putting too much effort into something, because I saw somebody talking about this on Twitter as well. Like, it's like, you know, I give 100% at work. You know, I'm the person who has the golden touch at work, but that makes me in demand. And sometimes because I put in so much, it's like, because I put in so much effort, it turns out good. Because I pay attention to the details, it turns out good, which puts me in a position of being in demand. However, it wears me out, right? So it's like the need to replenish. It also gave me like Medusa, and how Medusa turned people to stone. So I've got these two references of somebody being turned to gold and somebody being turned to stone. Then they gave me Daedalus, and this is the opposite. Daedalus' statues are statues that come to life and walk around. So this came through with musical statues as well, could be symbolic to somebody. Maybe statues that dance, you know, like the little flower pots where you have like the dancing flowers. It could be something like that. True opinions are like statues of Daedalus because they tend to wander off. So this is a quote by Socrates, again another Greece reference. Socrates was talking about Daedalus, who was like this big inventor. He was the father of Icarus, who flew too close to the sun. That came through in, I think, Aquarius's reading in the last set, so you may want to go and check that out. But it's basically true opinions are different to knowledge. So the message that Socrates is teaching us is that opinions can shift. So like the sand under our feet, opinions can shift. But when we experience something ourselves, this becomes fixed knowledge that cannot be moved. So the example that Socrates gives is you could want to go somewhere, right? You could want to reach a certain destination, and somebody could be like, I've been there before, I will draw you a map. Here's the map of how to get there. This becomes a true opinion. This person, they know how to get there. They've given you a map. This is true, not like a true opinion, right? And you can take that as, you know, this is true. However, somebody else could come along and say, hang on, no, I've also been there. I can draw you a map, and the two maps could be different. So it's like, you know, maybe this person's better traveled, so you trust their opinion more. They have the true opinion now. This person's opinion is now no longer the true opinion because this person has more authority. But you're just listening to what people are telling you and taking it as truth. The only way to really know which of those two maps is is correct is to actually walk it yourself and draw your own map, because when you've experienced it yourself and drawn your own map, this becomes fixed knowledge. And so those two people could come back to you and say, hey, you know, this is how to get there, no, this is how to get there, and you could say, well, actually I've been there myself and this is how I know you get there. So there's a real lesson here with it's kind of tying into the last reading, which was coming through this message about in the box education and out of the box education. So like formal education, where you go, perhaps you study history and they teach you this happened on this date, this happened on this date. You learn it, you regurgitate the facts. It's very different from actually perhaps being there. If you could time travel to the place and experience it for yourself, you would have a very different true knowledge, which is different than a true opinion. So the flaw of formal learning compared to the benefit of experiencing something yourself in the kind of Piaget method that I was talking about in the last reading. So a couple of different things there. So for example, if I look at myself and this thing about Italy coming through, I studied classics and I got a first in my module about Augustan Rome, and I feel like I have a huge amount of knowledge about it. I feel like my opinions are true. However, I was not in Augustan Rome. How could my knowledge possibly be true? And so what they teach you very on when you're studying things like, depending on the method, right? A good history teacher will tell you we are always finding out new things about the past, and every time we find out something new, the true opinion will shift, you know, because we find out something new, it affects everything else, and our picture of the entire story changes. So there is no true opinion when it comes to history, because we weren't there ourselves. It cannot be possibly fixed knowledge. So this is one of the first things that I learned, Socrates and Daedalus' statues, when I went to university. Okay, so just be very careful about, you know, if you're saying something is a fact, do you know this because somebody's told you it's a fact, or because you have experienced it directly yourself? Another example would be like maths, right? If somebody says, this is this equation, this is what this means, and you're like, okay, I know that this means this, but maybe you don't know why that means that. So again, it's a better education if you can kind of break it down and understand each key component to how that conclusion was reached. That's knowledge, because you have taken the steps to understand it properly and really integrate it. Okay. As I sat down ready to do your cards today, just before I started to pull cards for this new spread, they gave me the song Electric by Katy Perry. This life is going to be electric, right? Go and listen to it. It's from the movie Pokemon. That could mean something to you. I've seen Pikachu. They will try to bring you down, but you've got the power now. So electric and power. There could be something about power companies, energy prices going up, whether people can or can't afford it. So this made me think about how the people, politicians, people in government, people in the police, this message has been coming through as well. It's very Aquarian. People, the power companies, they are there to serve us. They are there to serve the population. They are not in control of us. So do not for a second think that they have power over you, because they don't. They are our civil servants. And if they're not doing their job, then we'll go elsewhere. Okay, we have power as the consumer. We have power as the population. And maybe people in power are starting to realize this. So I don't know what's going to come out collectively. I'm not inspiring a revolution or anything like that. What I'm saying is that we can see the patterns that we are experiencing now if we look back throughout history. For example, the last recession, or different things that have happened throughout history and the cycles that we go in. Things are changing. I always say we shouldn't worry too much when things happen. In politics, it's a cycle. So you could see something very scary happening, but what happens is if you imagine a seesaw, when opinions, when a certain side of because there's this thing about like the poles, right? When a certain side, so left, right, whatever, has too much power, when the pendulum swings too far in one direction, there's an automatic kind of the universe will rewrite in it. So you can only push something so far before it'll spring back. So opinions, the opinions of society, they will change. So don't worry if there's a few scary opinions. It's temporary, is the message that's coming through. Opinions like society, this sounds very Aquarian. I don't mean to be condescending in any sort of way. We all have the power of freedom of thought, but it's really important to understand how humans are wired to have groupthink, how humans are wired to see the majority opinion and lean into that, because we don't want to be rejected by the group. It's an old caveman style survival programming that we have as human beings. It's very different to stand alone and have a different opinion from the group, because we're going to be pushed out, right? So whether we realize it or not, whether it's conscious or subconscious, we do tend to act like sheep when it comes to opinions, and those opinions are not always correct, and those opinions shift, and as the weight of majority thinking shifts, so do the opinions of the public. And this is why atrocities happen. This is why people vote for terrible leaders, because it becomes the popular thing to do, and everybody wants to, you know, they don't want to be out of the loop, so they reinforce the negative power structure. So just be aware of your own, how you play into that. You know, are you willing to stand alone? And you know, you don't have to be a rebel, you don't have to cause a fuss, but you can sit down and think, I don't agree with the majority here, I have a different opinion, I have a different perspective. Okay, to the cards, because I don't want this to be a super long reading. We're 26 minutes already. So Rhino Spirit, I feel, Aries, or anyone who is watching this and resonating with this, for the people who this message is for, I feel like you've had some sense of purpose. You could actually feel, I don't know if it's conscious or subconscious, but you feel like you've had a destination in mind. You feel like you've been on a journey to reach something. Now, again, this could be a goal, a deadline, it could be a specific place that you've been very determined to get to, but it feels like you've had some sort of goal or destination in mind, which is symbolized by this closed door, this Hermit card here. This feels like the place that you were heading, right? This is what this is symbolizing. So you, as this Rhino Spirit, it feels like you've been almost in that, again, this is what I'm picking up on Taurus energy, almost that kind of bull-headed, goal-orientated, not in a negative way, right? There's a benefit to this. It means you get the job done because you're focused. But you've been very focused on reaching this goal, almost as though you're going to just plow through any obstacle that's in your path. It actually says overcome any obstacle. You've been very determined to do this, which is a huge... it can be good, like anything in the world, right? Everything has polarity. Everything has black and white to it. It can be good, it can be bad, it depends on the situation. I want to say that this is showing your determination to succeed, your determination to get answers, I'm hearing, your determination to reach a certain goal. So it actually is part of you that serves you very, very well. But how do I want to explain this? Because it kind of branches in two directions, which is interesting, because you're talking about taking a very linear path. So I do feel like actually you've been trying to almost bulldoze your way to this goal or destination, and the universe has been interfering, because you've got like the coyote here and things like this. So I'll read the top row first. So there's something here where it's almost like, if this is the obstacles in your path, if you had to go through a forest, right, you see, it's almost like the rhino shape. Like this is like, you know, like old like Disney cartoons, or like Warner Brothers cartoons, where they kind of like, they run through the wall and they leave a shape behind. It's almost like you've just bulldozed your way through this forest, but it's like some of it has stuck to you, and I don't even think you realize, which is really interesting. I'll kind of come back to that. So absolutely just almost like bulldozing right through this forest to get to your destination, and then it's like you seem to be hitting some kind of, it's like a guardian of the gate energy, like a thou shall not pass energy, and it's very firm. It's very this door is closed to you, you know, a little bit glass ceiling, but there's no, it feels very, very firm. So it feels almost like a stalemate kind of energy. So again, I'm going to kind of circle back to that. So again, even my language that I'm saying, I'm going to circle back to that. You do feel like you've tried to kind of bullheadedly kind of bulldoze your way to a certain point, and then you've got this blockage, And you seem quite determined to overcome any obstacle, and you could be quite frustrated that you've hit this. It's like you've hit this wall, and there's no getting through it. It feels very solid. So it's almost a confusion on your part where it's like, I had a destination, I was going that way. Why has the universe put this obstacle in my path? Now, like Ganesh, right? Ganesh, the elephant god, he places obstacles in our path to reroute us because there's a better way of doing things. So it's frustrating, but it's for us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And he will remove obstacles if you're supposed to go that way. So you've been rerouted, and again, it feels as though, because, so how am I seeing this? How do I describe this? So there's some kind of connection going on between these cards here, where if you watch my old set of readings, it was like, again, talking about like receiving downloads, right? Receiving divine inspiration. And this idea, so it came through, there was all this energy in the last set of readings about the man on the moon, right? Which could be talking about God or aliens or some kind of higher power, our own higher consciousness. But this kind of like energy of this is like a sky advisor, right? I'm going to call it the sky advisor. It's very Aquarian, very King of Air. And there is this emperor, so it could be you, Aries, and this woman of the woods who were both from the same place, right? So it could just be the masculine and feminine on planet Earth working together and collaborating together. And this message of like, yes, the emperor owns this forest, but the woman of the woods is the protectress of the forest. You know, she's almost like this Dr. Dolittle that talks to the animals and tends to the plants and tends to the nature. So it's almost like a symbiotic relationship between these two energies, the emperor and the woman of the woods. Where they both had a vested interest in protecting the land, right? One because he owned it, it was his hunting ground, the other because it's like where she lived, you know? So they collaborated to speak to this sky advisor and to receive messages of how to best protect this land. So this was the messages in the last set of readings, which I found really fascinating. And it almost feels like you have an ability, whether it's conscious or subconscious, to receive divine inspiration, to receive divine direction, to receive divine blueprints. Now, in the Sagittarius reading, I had this thing about, it was like a hologram on the moon. So I'm not saying the moon's a hologram, I know that's a big conspiracy theory, but it was almost like showing me like a lens in front of the moon. So almost like the way it's coming through for you, it's like almost like the man on the moon, however that resonates to you. Maybe it's like NASA, I don't know. But the man on the moon is, with the light coming from the moon, is projecting the blueprints directly onto your third eye, is the way it's coming through. So imagine the lens in front of the moon is containing the blueprints of who you are as a person and your destiny. And so the light comes through like a laser beam. So can you see, it's like, here's the man on the moon, right? Here's the lens with all your blueprints. And then it's coming through, it's like this is kind of holding, can you see, it's like how this angel is kind of holding this lens. This is kind of like these two energies together to me today. So it's like beaming down directly. You see this on his third eye. It's like that's the light from the moon going through the lens, hitting you on your head. I know it sounds crazy, right? But what I learned in the last set of the readings was everything sounds completely crazy and then it plays out. So for example, I was definitely channeling the movies, the TV show Sandman. Like so much of the crazy stuff that was in my reading just came out as the TV show Sandman. And I was like, well, I'm not crazy then, because everything that I was talking about that sounded crazy has manifested here on the 3D. Yes, it's a TV show. Yes, it's sci-fi. You know, yes, it's a bit out there, but it's in the reality, right? It's something that is outside of me that I am watching. But I got it intuitively first. The same with my Aquarius reading last week. It was just madness, and I was like, I don't know who this is for. I don't know what it means. Are the aliens coming? And then I realized that NASA are doing a project called Artemis, where they're firing 3 rockets, Artemis 1, Artemis 2 and Artemis 3, up to go around the back of the moon and have a look at the dark side of the moon. So that was really fascinating to me as well, because to me, when I was doing the reading, it just seemed completely out there and completely crazy. And then I found out about NASA, and then I watched my reading back and I was like, this is 100% what I'm channeling. So how this actually applies to you, I don't know. And I feel crazy saying these things, and yet they do manifest in the reality. So again, whether consciously or subconsciously, and how this applies, maybe it's metaphorical, the way it's coming through is this sky being projecting your blueprints on directly onto your third eye, which is making you feel like you need to move in a certain direction, which is making you feel like you need to barge through the entire forest, bulldoze the forest to get to. It's coming through a bit like a castle, right? Which could be symbolic of like a symbol of authority, right? Like a government structure. I have to go and bang on the door of City Hall and demand answers, that kind of thing. So it's coming through as well with analogies like Alice in Wonderland, you know, she ends up in the castle at the end, you know, but she has this whole journey in between. And very, very strongly, it's coming through with the tale of the Wizard of Oz, where you know, she's determined, so determined to go to the Emerald City and meet the Wizard of Oz, the great powerful Oz. But then when she gets there, she's really disappointed to find out that he's just a man, right? He's just a man behind a curtain. So it has that energy to it, like you go and you're banging on the door to demand answers, but perhaps what you need to realize is that they don't have the answers. It's just a symbol of authority. It's just something that some kind of symbol of authority that we've all agreed upon to give to allow this energy to rule us, to allow this to feel like it's the destination, to allow them to feel like they have control over us. It's also coming through really strongly with Labyrinth, through hardships untold and dangers unnumbered, or vice versa. I always get it wrong. Through dangers untold and hardships outnumbered, I fought my way here to the Goblin City. You have no power over me, you know? So it's that kind of energy, like finally getting there and recognizing that you have the power. So remember the song that came through for you? You have the power now, right? You have the power now, and you're realizing this. So this is the lesson that's being taught to you through this divine redirection, through even without realizing it. It's like you've been so determined and so focused to get to the Emerald City that you've completely just, it's almost like you've been on autopilot. You've had the blinkers on. You've not been aware of your surroundings. Well, all the time, all the experiences that you've gone through, your journey so far has stuck to you, has clung to you. So and it's like reclaim your power. So it's like, so there's something with these two cards, Garden of Venus and Panther Spirit. So this is been so much. So this has been coming through with second chakra energy. Now, in the last reading that I did, I was talking about how the formal standard portrayals of the chakras doesn't work for me. It just confuses me. I've developed my own communication with my own guides about what the chakras are and how they mean, and the imagery that surrounds them. So the panther and right, this kind of like, okay, so the first chakra to me visually is the root system. The root system that talks about our groundedness, our stability, our past, and the things that have nurtured us, you know, the nutrients in the soil. So it's kind of this very earthy, mossy energy. But as it comes up, and now remember, the chakras all relate to each other. As we come into the second chakra, it's more about like the earth level, like the underbrush level. So it's quite dark. It always comes through like red and black to me, and like very, very divine feminine, but almost like the like not shadow feminine, like it's a bad thing, but like almost like a witchy kind of seductress, like very kind of the power of the feminine energy in a very seductive kind of way, like, you know, the panther, but it's not negative. I really have to emphasize it's not negative. So just how Venus energy is not negative, although sometimes patriarchal energies like to paint the feminine in bad light, not negative. And again, remember the Emperor, which is you, Aries, whether you're female or masculine, and we all have feminine and masculine energy within us. You are working with this energy, with the woman of the woods energy, with the witch of the woods energy, who's very powerful, right? It's like her energy, because it's connected to the root energy, it's like it extends throughout the entire forest. And it's because it's coming through with Venus energy, rest and renewal, and radical acceptance. It's like accepting the feminine. It's like you're surrounded by it anyway, right? It's always been around you. And look at this as well, protection, the fairies of protection. So it's like this feminine energy. It could be a mother. If you've got a mother who's in spirit, it could be a mother who's in spirit, especially if they were Taurus or Taurus or Libra. It's like, especially if you had a mother who was kind of witchy, like my mum was Scorpio, so she had that kind of quality to her. Like, it's like their energy has been protecting you, because look at these two cards, right? Like, look at this. It's like they're almost like Harry Potter. You know how the love of his mother has protected him? It's like look at the colors. It's all around you like this entire time, but I really feel like you've not been seeing it. So it's like when you get to, yeah, it's funny that I'm reading your reading out of order, but it's like it's meant to be out of order. So it's like when you finally reach this destination, right? When you finally reach the Emerald City and, you know, or the labyrinth, and you realize that this energy doesn't have any power over you. They are your servant, right? They are your civil servant. Like, you hold the power. You hold the power of the collective population, right? You hold the power of humanity, as a representative of humanity, like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, I guess. You are a representative of the people. It feels like, yes, you do hit a brick wall, right? So it's like, you know, that energy can't help you. You thought this energy would have the answers, but they don't have the answers. You know, it's all smoke and mirrors. So you're getting, it's like your compass is being redirected. You're getting turned away. So the way I'm seeing it is like, this is now you. Like, it's like you've had some kind of transformation through passing through this energy. Rest and renewal. It could literally be like you were supposed to sit here, or maybe you did. It's like you took a nap in this Garden of Venus energy, and in doing so you became like immersed in that energy, a bit like how, you know, I was saying, it was like I was getting coated with gold. So that's not necessarily negative like Midas. You know, it could be coming through as like, you know, the power. It's like you are now being infused with this power without you even realizing it. So it's like, on the other side of that forest, which is coming through as like a journey, right? The journey to get there. Without realizing, it's like you've been infused with it, like a tea bag, the timing, that's funny. And it's like now you are coated with this powerful shadow energy. It's like you fought your demons in that Garden of Venus or something like that, where, you know, you've now come out of the other side like the warrior, right? So it's like you confront your own inner demons in that forest, and in doing so, you incorporate them. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Carl Jung, Golden Shadow, right? Again, golden, right? So it's like you've done that, you've incorporated the shadow. So now you are standing there in your power in front of this closed door, right? Having some kind of altercation, or some kind of like a conference, or a it's like you're demanding passage, or you're demanding answers. But what's really interesting is this King of Air actually fell off onto the floor, and when that happens, it tells me that something's off the table. So it's like this option now, this route that you were taking is now no longer an option. You're recognizing it as a closed door. You're recognizing that it doesn't have the answers. So yeah, it's like turning away. It's like you know, through hardships untold and whatever, outnumbered, like you fought your way there, and then it's like that door's closed to you, or you recognize that it was just a little man all along, you know, behind, you know, they have no power. You have the power. You have no power over me. So it's like, so it's then you stood there, right, outside the closed door. This is the story, the way it's coming through for me. Like, you don't know what to do. Like, all your intention, all your focus, all your purpose led you here, and now you just don't know what to do. So then it's like almost like this, this knight appears, this figure on the horizon shows up, this messenger, right? This messenger delivering a message to the place. And it's a herald of change. It's like, it's almost coming through like if this was historical, right? It'd be like you had a pilgrimage to go to the king to get answers. And you were frustrated because you didn't get the answers you wanted from that king, and then you felt lost. You were like, well, what do I do? What do I do then if the king can't help me or the king won't change? What do I do? And then it's like this energy appears to say, there's a big change happening. The king no longer has any power. You know, this person has come into power now. They're marching their armies through the land. And it's like, it's coming through a little bit like, if you know the play Richard II, with Richard II, who's like a corrupt king, and Bolingbroke, who is kind of mistreated, and he raises an army and he's really popular, kind of a bit like Mark Antony, right? And he's, so the people who are loyal to him, who see the injustice, are now on his side, and he comes back, he marches, he's been exiled, but he marches back into England to seize power from Richard. Well, actually, that's not in the play, that's not his intention. He doesn't intend to seize power. He just wants what he's entitled to back. So again, this could be something for you, like maybe you were ripped off by the government, right? And you're like, I just want my land back. I just want my house back, right? I just want what's mine, what's owed to me. And the government's like, oh, I'm sorry, can't help you, red tape. And it's like, then this announcement that a law's changed, right? A law's changed, and now it's off the table, it's defunct, right? This department's been shut down, something like that. So yes, it's the horseman, right? And I think automatically we all go, oh, horseman of the apocalypse. It's not the apocalypse. It's a very, very positive sign. Like, look at all the gold around him. So if you actually read the details of this card, it really talks about making the most of the situation, you know, and being careful with how you announce things. So if you were going to be returning to this forest and saying, there's a big change coming through, you could be like, oh, it's the apocalypse, it's all doom and gloom. Or you could be like, there's an opportunity here for us to really change things for the better. So it's like chaos is a ladder energy. So it is positive. It is rerouting you. So what I'm seeing here is, it's so funny how it's almost circular. I always read like this. I always read linear, but your message is very much go back. Right, this was not, what's that? This is the princess is in another castle or something. These are not the droids you're looking for. So it's like, it really is that kind of energy of like, you thought this was the destination, you thought this was going to be the goal, but it's like the goalposts moved. And so you get this message, and it was coming through with Ace of Swords energy, which in this deck is somebody on a, I was just wondering if it was handy. I thought this was going to come out. No, not that one. Okay, ignore me, sorry. So the Ace of Swords in this deck is a Pegasus. Right, so you're getting all this like horse energy, and the rhino as well is known, like, people think that when the myth of the unicorn kind of entered our culture, it was because someone had seen a rhinoceros, and when they described the rhinoceros as being like a horse but they've got a horn, you know, people are like, oh, unicorns. So I don't know, it could be talking about mythology of some kind as well, especially with that whole Wizard of Oz energy, like something that was a myth, something that was an illusion, something that was a hologram. But so you have this moment of like, the door's closed, you know, the King of Air is off the table, they can't help you, they don't have the answers, and then this change coming through. So then it's like turning back around is the way it's coming through, realizing that you have to go back, or you have to have a different path, and then turning back around and seeing, it's like you see everything you've been through. It's like turning back around and seeing where you came from clearly for the first time, because you've had the blinkers on, right? It's like you bulldoze through. It's like the Garden of Venus, right? Rest and renewal. Like, it's like suddenly seeing what's on offer, or the beauty of that place. Do you know what I mean? It's like Dorothy going through Oz, right? She was so determined to get to the Emerald City that, you know, it's all she could think about. And then she got there, and it's like, and then she recognizes her friends, she recognizes the experience, she recognizes the beauty of Oz itself. Or like, You know, the same thing with the labyrinth where, you know, at the end, like she thought, you know, she did it, right? She got her brother back. She went there for a purpose. But then it's like, she has this moment where she remembers, like, the journey, she remembers the friendship she made. You know, like, this is looking to me like at the end of the labyrinth where they're like, should you need us, should you need us. So yeah, it's like turning back around and really seeing where you came from for the first time, and really seeing what couldn't be seen before because you had the blinkers on. The fact that what was being offered by this place that you've been passing through, which is coming through this imagery of like the woodland, right, or of Oz, that was a place that offered you protection the entire time. That was a place where your friends had your back. That was a place that this is where your true power lies, is the way it's coming through, because you've coated in it. You've been carrying this this protection, this Venus energy. It's been protecting you the entire time. So perhaps you thought, perhaps you had some kind of insecurity where you thought, to have power I have to, yeah, it's like, to have power I have to run this cursus honorum, I have to achieve this certain position, I have to have this certain career, I have to open this certain door, you know, I need to, you know, get this certain qualification. So it's like doing something the traditional way, when actually you've been doing that because it's like, that was like the game of life, right? If you think about the board game, the game of life, it's like, because you were so, because it's like a bigger lie had been told to you that you had to do this to have power, where actually your true source of power is something that is because of who you are. It's like because of your DNA. It's like because your mum was a witch, or because you have this natural power to be very, very connected to place, right, in this like panther energy. So with, it's like that, and then like it's almost like going back and lying down, like going back, like, I don't know, laying in the arms of a mother or a sister, or, you know, a friendship group, like going back to them and them embracing you and being like, you know, like, you can rest now. You know, your journey's over. You've learnt the lesson. You can rest now. Rest and renewal, Garden of Venus. Beautiful. But really seeing it for what it is for the first time. So again, it's like, it's almost like denying your feminine side, or denying the power of the feminine, because you've been chasing this patriarchal Wizard of Oz energy. And patriarchal energy isn't always the Wizard of Oz, right? It's not always going to let you down. There's, you know, you Aries being the Emperor in the upright in the tarot, you're hopefully, if you're not low vibrational, hopefully the Emperor in the upright is a brilliant masculine leader, right? It's like the person that everybody can rely on, the person that leads people. It's like the dependable father. But it's like you've been chasing this undependable father, or trying to emulate or follow in the footsteps of this undependable cursus honorum type father. Cursus honorum, if you want to Google that, it's the Roman, in classical Rome, the cursus honorum was like a very, very structured, almost pyramid shaped career path to be successful. But you could look at somebody like Ovid, and I feel like you're almost like this Ovidian character who his poetry often denies the cursus honorum, which was a very military, it was like the first levels of the cursus honorum were military levels. You went and had military training, and then you went on to like civic duties, civic responsibilities, and, you know, increasingly like tried to get to the top of that. So it'd be like trying to become president of the United States, right? It's like a similar thing. Or I don't know. Or like if you think about how monarchs in England often do military training, they often do military service, if you look at Prince Harry, for example. So it's that kind of very patriarchal, old-fashioned, this is how you get successful energy, where the Venus energy is offering a different path. So if you want to look at the poet Publius Ovidius Nassus, he's so Ovid, he denies the military side, he denies the cursus honorum, and he embraces love, and he embraces the feminine, and praises the feminine. So he becomes a poet, which and he, in defense of his decision to become a poet, he says, being in love is like military service. You know, you go through the same pangs, you go through the same pain, you know, you doggedly persevere in the face of opposition. So he's like, all the traits that, you know, are seen as heroic in this environment, are he's painting as heroic in his own light, right? He's seeing the beauty of the feminine, he's seeing beauty of the Venus energy. So with focus, it's like refocusing and becoming the Wizard of the Woods. So it's like no longer trying to be this kind of emperor figure, this no longer trying to be the Wizard of Oz, right? Because you realize that the Wizard of Oz is just smoke and mirrors. It's just a lie, right? It's just a hologram. And recognizing that your true power, where you feel loved and rested and safe and powerful, is surrounded by this, like, it's like becoming, instead of being, it's like in that last set of readings with the Emperor and the Woman of the Woods, it's like the Emperor has left the castle to come and speak to this Woman of the Woods and find out what the Aquarian energy has said, and then like returning to the castle to find the door closed to them and being like, do you know what, I like it here better anyway. And then it's like accepting a position as no longer the person who owns the woods, but a person who is the woods incarnate, right? It's like being like the Woman of the Woods, being connected to the, I'm hearing economy, I don't know if somebody does stuff with like economics, like being so connected to the biome itself, like being so connected to how the, it's like a biodome, right? Like how everything is connected, how everything within that environment like supports each other, the life and death cycles in that environment, the you know, the nature of everything within it, and how it's this delicate interplay. It's something like nature is perfect, like the natural world is in perfect balance, and there's a power in that, where it feels like this energy has been trying to impose power upon it. It could even be talking about like deforestation, right, or something like that, like plowing down trees to build a, it could be like you know, somebody had a big yellow taxi, paved paradise and put up a parking lot. So it could be like there's some woodland that you like to go walking in, but they're trying to like turn it into a car park, or trying to turn it into a government building or a school even, which schools are beneficial, but it's like there's something civic trying to be built on a environment that is beautifully perfect and balanced, right? It's like everything that this energy is trying to impose on the environment is already there in the natural world itself, right? So like how can we they're giving me, I'm doing it a different way, I'm doing it a different way. So it's like, if you do find that this energy is now off the table, if you do find that you have the true power in this situation, you could actually be refocusing the entire ship, right? You could be refocusing the entire strategy back onto, well, how does nature do it? We're trying to do it in a very mechanical, industrial way, but how would nature solve this problem? And it seems to be something very wise about you that is, again, like inherent in your DNA, inherent in your blueprints, and it's your true power, right? And remember that you could run the cursus honorum as many times as you like, but everybody's doing that, right? And if it's a pyramid, then, you know, it's like a funnel. So, you know, a lot of people enter and not everybody is going to succeed. And to succeed in an environment like that, you either need to have some kind of advantage. And if you don't have the same, I don't know, if you don't have millions of pounds to run a campaign, if you don't have rich friends, you're not really going to stand a chance. But stepping out of that system, standing in your true power that makes you unique and really seeing your own source of wisdom in this situation because of something in the natural environment, because perhaps you've been down and walked with the people, you've walked the streets, you know what people are going through. Even it's like that's your USP, that's your true power. So let's just run over a few of these cards down here that we've kind of not talked about yet. So the medicine wheel is really talking to me about everything that you've been through, everything, all the people that you've met along the way, all the different perspectives, all the different lessons you've learned, everything that you've experienced in the world so far, really being like the blueprint of you, really becoming like every experience becoming part of who you are as a whole. And then there's this radical acceptance, right, as well. So it's like radically accepting everyone around you for who they are, right? Everyone in this environment for who they are, for who they truly are, not the masks that they wear. He's wearing a mask. Understanding that people are who they are because of the journeys that they've been through, because of the passage that they've been led on. Understanding that because the coyote's here, the coyote is the divine trickster. So they will lead you astray. They will make you desire things that you don't really need, right? It's almost like kind of like devil energy, but it's devil energy in a way that teaches you lessons. It's not happening to you. It's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to teach you, and it's teaching you through tricks. So it's like that's the character they're playing on this stage of life, right? So it's like when you recognize the purpose of things, when you recognize, not when you don't, it's like looking at something and saying that's a trouble causer. It's like saying, okay, that person is playing the role of a trouble causer in my life. Why and what is that teaching me? What is this path that they've led me on? What are the lessons in the environment here? So it's really getting this higher perspective where you don't need the answers from this person anymore because you are that person. You have the higher perspective. You see the whole journey. You see your whole life as a living message, a living education, an informal life lesson education. So really accepting all the parts of yourself and all the lessons, even the prickly ones, understanding that again, with that vulture spirit, nothing is wasted. It's like even the prickly things, even the more difficult parts of your journey, you can turn that into something that's resourceful. People may prefer, I don't know, rose bushes, or they may prefer, I don't know, beautiful flowers, but the cactus is perfect for its environment. And again, this is part of you recognizing how you are perfect for your environment, because the cactus, can live in desert environments, right? And they're full of water, and sometimes they even bear fruit. So yes, they're prickly. No, they might not be the most beautiful, but they are perfect for what's needed. Right? So it's like rethinking everything. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is unimportant. The things that we don't like, you might turn your nose up at flies and maggots, but they serve a purpose. And that's part of the lesson of the forest. That's part of the lesson of the biome that you're relearning. So, or recognizing, right? It's like you know it because you've been there. It's just taking a step back, turning around, looking back at your journey so far and recognizing in a resourceful way how you can incorporate everything. And then the medicine wheel really just talk about like looking back at the past, focusing on the future, facing your true north, all this kind of stuff, and turning the wheel, right? So it's like your compass has led you to this doorway, right? This hermit energy. It could be a Virgo or an Aquarius. And it's like the change is this redirection based on you turning back around and recognizing all the parts of everything really clearly. You're redirecting, and I think you're going to go back here. I think this is where you're ending up. You're going back, almost like going back to, it's almost like you're missing from that place, right? There's a space here for you. There's a space saved for you that you are going to go back and fill. Like you are standing in your power, in that kind of very earthy, wise, transcendent energy. It's like it's like stepping out of the rat race. Maybe some of you are retiring, or maybe this is somebody that you know, like a grandparent who's a father who's retiring or something like that. It's like taking a rest, you know, taking a well-deserved rest. And then the Five of Water, I don't know what this is. It could be, I mean, it is an energy that's been coming up a lot this week, and it's the reason why I couldn't, I had a lot of trouble over the weekend with this energy, and it's an energy of loss, of grief, of despair, of kind of wallowing in regret. And again, it's facing, it's like she's ignoring the pearls, right? She's ignoring the pearls of wisdom. She's ignoring this little helper who's by her side, and in her despair, her entire focus is on this energy here, right? So it's like, again, like the rhino and this energy here, again, it could be because you've been refusing to look at something, you've had the blinkers on, you've been acting from a place of, I'm hearing denial. So it's like acting from a place where you've been resisting learning a lesson, or resisting feeling some sort of grief or loss. It's like you were being driven on by your, it's got that energy of like, someone close to me passed away, so I threw myself into work rather than sitting there and resting and crying it out, right? I didn't want to feel all those, I didn't want to feel that hurt, I didn't want to feel that pain, I didn't want to feel that grief, so I overworked to try and achieve something. Because I don't know if it was a father, right? Like this comes through fairly often. It's like this was my dad's dream. My dad wanted to achieve this. You know, my dad was a mayor. My dad was a local politician. He wanted me to be a local politician. So when he died, I had to, like, almost like in a very almost fixated way, like try and achieve what he was trying to achieve. But it's like, that's not your path, right? So yeah, I feel like, you know, you're gonna, and everything that happens to you happens for a reason. And I love the beauty of, you know, recognizing that this was there, like, you know, turning around and seeing it, like, look at the colors, turning around and seeing it, that this was there all along. Could be this was the protection of your mother, like you were chasing, very Harry Potter, right? He was trying to be his dad, but like the love of his mother is what protected him the entire time. And actually turning around and seeing where, you know, seeing where he fits in to that. All right, I hope this reading was helpful to you. It's kind of beautiful. Yeah. Again, like the herald of change, like there's changes coming, and I feel like everything happens for a reason, right? The divine plan knows what you need and when you need it. And if you've been working very, very hard and something comes in where, I mean, the upper world can talk about bad health, right? So I always say, when you start to run on empty, when your fuel starts to run out and you're still trying to keep going, if you don't stop, the universe will make you stop. And this is what I was saying myself when I was really getting kind of swamped by this grief energy. And I was trying to do the readings. I did like 6 or 7 readings over the weekend, and I uploaded them all, but published none of them. Because I'm aware of my responsibility as a reader, as a herald of change, to perhaps comfort people in difficult times, or perhaps to provide direction. And it's very hard to do that if the energy itself is so swamped by this, like these heavy emotions. So I recognized that I was getting really drained, especially after doing 12 storytime readings back to back. I recognized that it was draining me, that I was running on empty, that I was starting to get sick. And I was like, I have to slow down. I have to slow down. Otherwise the universe is going to make me slow down. And I hate getting sick. I've got a phobia of actually throwing up. So I was like, I want to rest. I want to let my body get better. I don't want the universe to come in and kind of like give me fucking flu or anything. So I'm starting to feel better now. But, you know, really, I think we all need to slow down. We all need to rest. And understand, you know, if something comes in that forces you to do this, if it's like, I don't know, something going on economically at work where it's like, okay, you're going to have to job share, you're going to have to cut your hours, you know, like, you know, the choice is we either like keep some people on and get let half the workforce go, or everybody cuts their hours. You know, maybe it's like, you're like, okay, I'll cut my hours, but now I've got all this time on my hands. And then it's like actually recognizing, oh, I can go and do, you know, I can go and do my gardening, I can go and do some yoga, I can go for a walk in the woods. This is great. You know, so it's like when it happens, when you get that news, it's like a shock, or, you know, it comes with a lot of fear. What am I going to do for money? You know, what does this mean? But then actually, as a couple of days pass and you ease into it, a couple of weeks pass perhaps, you're like, do you know what? Maybe I like working part-time. Maybe I don't want to go back full-time. Maybe I want to keep this day off so I can go for a walk in the woods, because my mental health is absolutely rocking it right now compared to when I was working like a 40-hour week and I was stressed, right? And not eating well and all this kind of thing. So I don't know, it's whatever's happening, it's for the greater good. So don't worry, right? Don't worry if this herald of change comes in, you are going to be rocking it in a couple of weeks. You know, you're going to look back and say, wow, I see the purpose of everything so clearly, and I'm so glad I'm here right now. All right, I hope that was helpful. Really long reading again. Do take care of yourselves, Aries and Taurus. Perhaps I may put Aries and Taurus on the video, because maybe again somebody could be on the cusp. If you're going to New York, absolutely, like it's on my list of places I would love to go to. Like, you know, that plan, like New York Fashion Week, going watching a ballet, going watching an opera, you know, go maybe doing a bit of shopping, like that sounds amazing. So if you're going to New York, maybe over Christmas, like absolutely, like enjoy every single fucking moment of it, right? And don't work too hard. And yeah, have a good time. I'll see you again soon, Aries, maybe Taurus, and take care of yourselves. Bye bye.